ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Well, welcome to the Roundtable, everybody. My name is Robert Bannon. It's another Thursday, and we are live for our 100. Do you know this is our 148th week that we've been doing this show? We do a daily podcast over on Broadway Podcast Network, and we do extra shows every day. We're up to almost 700 episodes, 1,200 guests of the Roundtable. And we have one of our very first guests, one of the guests that made this show happen, because when someone that is a Emmy winner, Tony nominee, superstar like Obba Babatunde comes on, then the guest just kept on rolling in after him. So he's here live. Like, get your questions ready. Tell us all about the show. Hi, Christine's here and says, Obba is here. And yes, it's now start of my wedding month. I'm getting married May 25th. Darius is around the corner. We're in Detroit now. Last time Obba was here, I was in New Jersey. You know, he was in a TV show called Detroiters, which I have seen. It's very true. It's a true show. It's really like that here in Detroit. Hello, Alyssa. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Robert's Roundtable friends. How are you? Good to be here. Lattes is here. You're here. Thanks for being here. My mom is here. Let's jump to it. Can I just give you a quick week in review so we can bring Obba out and we'll get this show on the road with a lot of fun. A conversation. He gives the best conversations ever. He's such a great interview. So this week, my week in review, I want to give a big thanks and shout out to everybody here in Detroit. Do you know that Detroit, getting your animals, I feel like Bob Barker, getting your animals spayed and neutered, but getting their yearly shots are so important. And here in Detroit for $30, $30 in LA and New York, you can get a pizza for $30. So here, the dog parks, look at these dogs out here. We took the babies to get their dog shots. Shout out to the Michigan Humane Society and everybody that's out here. Here's the baby in her I Love New York a little outfit. She got her shots, and that was a wonderful thing. And then I celebrated that night as we entered into the month of our wedding. Don't judge me, everybody. I'm not on TV like Obba, so I don't care. I finished the whole gallon. I ate the whole gallon of ice cream. Look, we had little Heath bar pieces. I've been in such the mood for unhealthy food. Is it stress? What is it? Is it maybe it's just good weather? And you know, when you have ice cream in the freezer, how do you survive that? I don't know the answer, but we're here. See, we have hello, Abby's here in the UK. Thank you for being here. I know you're here to see Obba, and we're gonna have a good old time. My aunt is here. Hi, Aunt Fran. Alyssa says, "Bring on wedding month." We got one more thing for you before we bring Obba out here as well with a big old introduction. I have some fun stuff to show you.
'Cause I'm shameless.
So I just wanted to say a shout out to our shameless plug of the week. Tomorrow over on Broadway World, we have a great conversation with Robert Horn. Robert Horn is a Tony winner who wrote Shucked. He wrote the Hercules musical that's coming to the West End. He wrote 13, the musical. He won a Tony for Tootsie. If you want to see that conversation, all you got to do is head over to Broadway World and we will pop up. It's our exclusive chat. And then next week, Scott Hoying, who is the Grammy-winning lead singer of Pentatonix, will be here with his mother. His mother wrote an autobiography about what it was like to raise a musical superstar, and then what it was like when he hit big and won the Grammys and sold out arenas. And it's a perfect Mother's Day episode here at the Roundtable. And then the following week, Peppermint is, we have a whole bunch of, we're going to go into Pride. We have shows, people. We have shows. So I'm excited for everybody that's here. Latte says, eat the ice cream. Thank you. I need that. Hello, here's Darius. There's the husband right here now. And everyone, the family, the whole entire Roundtable family is here. So listen, my grandmother's watching out there in Jersey. Hey, Graham. And everybody is here. We love when guests come back. When Obba was here, we taped a special hour-long chat. We were going to talk for the hour. Hello, Catrice. Detroit's in the house tonight. Hello, Catrice. Thank you for being here. We're excited that you're here. And we are here on Tony Nomination Thursday. Okay. So Tony Nomination Thursday, the Tony nominations were announced today. Our guest was nominated for a Tony for a very famous show. And it's May. It's May 1st. You're going to love May. Yes, that's Jennifer Holliday. As she sang it and Obba heard it every night for the years that Dreamgirls ran. So yes, he was CeCe in Dreamgirls. Yes, he's was with Liza for years, and given the nod of the hat and the thumbs up from the one and only Sammy Davis Jr. When Liza released her live album that was taken out of the vault, Obba is Mr. Cellophane Man, and all of that, the duet with Liza is on it. And then he transitions everybody to over 200 IMDb credits for television, film, and voiceover work, video games. There's not many people out here who have sung with Liza Minnelli and starred in How High, the movie. Not many. That's the career that we're talking about. And he is going to end an incredible run on SWAT this coming month. And a very special episode is coming out. We're going to talk about his time with Shemar Moore. He has a new movie that's out on Tubi that you need to check out. You never run out of things to talk about when Obba Babatunde is here. He's an Emmy winner. How did he memorize all those lines on a soap opera every day with our friend Anna Maria Horsford? Obba Babatunde is here, and we're so excited he's back. It warms my heart. My friend, Obba, welcome back to the show.
I am thrilled. Hello to you and all of the people that have tuned in. It is such a joy and honor and a pleasure, Robert, to be back with you. I'm telling you, in your opening, I was sitting here cracking up, particularly when you said not many people can say they've started a world tour with Liza Minnelli and been in How High.
That's you. That's your entire career. That is your career. You have been with Liza Minnelli and in How High. Is this How High? This is How High.
Yes.
This is from How High. So look, I have a lot of friends, Obba, who may have be high How High may be one of the movies they watch. Well, congratulations, because your career never ceases to amaze me, because I pop on. Some of the other people we talked about have the same kind of career. You worked a lot. She has a career. Anna Maria has a career like that too. You put on a Netflix movie and she pops in. I change the channel and then Obba's there. You just constantly are evolving and growing and working.
Yes. Well, it's a blessing, it's a joy and honor. And, you know, it affords me the opportunity and has afforded me the opportunity to meet wonderful people like yourself and all those that are watching, you know, today. And you know, that's really what is it. I've been given a lot of awards, but I'm always most excited about the reward. And the reward is when I get the opportunity to be able to say hello and interact with people like yourself. And as I said, on all those that I meet on a daily basis, and they have such kind things to say. And I'd like to just thank everybody right at the top of the show for the years of support that you've given to me. The career is still continuing, and it's been a long time. But I must say that the reward is always when I get a chance to look into that person's eyes and realize that something that I've done has brought them some joy and some happiness, a smile, or through a difficult time, a reunion with a family member, something, because all of the different characters that I've played, somehow, because I'm only interested in playing fully realized human beings, because that's who I want to represent. I want to represent fully realized human beings, because we all have some journey. And so when I get a chance and they say, hey, you know what? I saw you in, and then the joy comes out. It's really the reward.
Look, we got Obba. Welcome to the Roundtable. We're excited you could join us live. Obba's royalty, welcome back. Some of the people who have been following us since those episodes early on. So thank you all for being here and for being here. So you have been busy. You have been making movies and television shows, but I hear that there's a very special episode of a very special show. I think Shemar Moore, talk about soaps. Shemar Moore is a star. He's a TV star. He's a movie star. He's an action star. You've been lucky enough to play his dad for years over on SWAT. And as the season and series comes to an end, what's that been like for you? It's got to be bittersweet.
Well, you know, it is the joy of what we do, Robert, is that it doesn't ever really end, because the relationships that you connect and you make, they're forever, you know. And as you mentioned, I've played Pops, which is what they affectionately call me on SWAT. And Shemar and I have really developed a relationship off screen that is kind of I feel like I'm a surrogate dad in some sort of way. You know, we talk about things, and spending 7 seasons, which is the 7 seasons I've been on the show, and it's been on for 8 seasons, is really a special joy because we've been able to grow together on the production. And I think that energy, that connection translates into the work that we do, you know, on the show, because it really is an honest and earnest relationship. We have jokes, we laugh at each other. You know, I tease him about things, he goes back and forth. I tell him, I say, hey man, I was, you know, you before you was you, so you got to just relax. And he says, oh, get out of here, man, you and me. I said, listen, look, I understand what it is to be identified as a sexy model. And I showed him a picture when I was nominated years ago as one of the 10 sexiest men in America. But that was a while ago. Well, I should send you that picture and you'll put it up the next time I'm on the show.
That's the deal. Well, and people watching, my friend here, out here in Detroit, here's Catrice. Catrice says, I love watching Obba on SWAT. He is royalty. People have watched and I'm ready for the season. My sister-in-law, see, I told you I knew some people who were maybe high. He was my favorite in Half and Half as well as How High. I love seeing him still going, and he looks absolutely amazing. I said to Obba before we started, I said, you have looked the same since I was born. You don't age.
Well, that's a great compliment. I tell you, get yourself a good moisturizer.
That's the trick. Also, and we say also the 5 heartbeats is we're going to talk about a lot of credits. There's 200 plus of them. So it goes on. I was looking at Half and Half because there was incredible cast, and yes. I love Essence, and she's been here, and I loved all of the amazing people on the show. And I was looking at Dear White People, and we've had Brandon Black on and a lot of people from Dear White People, and we were looking at the soaps. Do you must walk into an industry party or a restaurant in LA, and you have worked with, forget Kevin Bacon, it's like the 5 degrees of Obba Babatunde. Everyone.
Yes, it really has been, and it continues to be a great journey, you know. And, you know, it's nice that when I walk into those environments and those people who have worked together, you know, we have a smile and a joy that comes. I just went and saw Lilias White, who was performing in here in Nevada. I'm in Nevada right this moment, and she was doing a project for Broadway in the Hood. And they're a company that's really working hard and introducing, you know, people in the communities, you know, to theater. And so it was great. And so there was Lilias. And Lilias and I have been doing theater together since 1971, literally. And she was like, you know, we've done Chicago together. We did, you know, Dreamgirls together. We've just been, so again, as to your point, when you're walking and you see somebody go, hey, what's up? And boom, it's like, you know, I just called Essence, and we were at a premiere together. You know, it's just really family, man.
It's family. That's, well, we're going to get to family. You have a song about that I think is pretty famous. This is my mother-in-law, Obba. Look, my mother-in-law says, he does not look good. He is fine. That's what she says. That's
I take that. Thank you very much.
Well,
I appreciate that.
I want to remember special Pops episode of SWAT, May 9th on CBS at 9 o'clock. So make sure you check it out. It's a special Pops episode of SWAT. And that's what we're here. We're talking about it. Shemar Moore, Pops, Obba Babatunde, as the series winds up. And also, while we're here, you might want to tell us a little bit about it. Wrong Place, Wrong Time is now out on Tubi. And then you've got that's your movie now that you're in. So what is this about? And what drew you to be a part of this cast and film?
You know, it's a great question. It deserves a great answer, and I'll do my best. The thing is that when I look at a project, Chris Stokes is the director and the writer and producer. And, you know, we've had a relationship. He's been very kind over the years and called me up and says, oh, but listen, I got something. I hope you'll look at it and maybe even be involved in it, you know. And if there's something wrong, you know, tell me. I'm interested in all these. And so that was what the deal was with this particular project. And I am telling you, please tune in. You want to talk about a movie where these women are getting down. Like, you're going to see these fight scenes that they do. It's a very, very strong and interesting twist of things. Mother and daughter relationship and how that turns. And I play the chief of police. And, you watch how some of these actresses came in. And I do have a story about that. But some of these actresses came in, Robert, like on the day. They're not stunt people. And they work with a great stunt choreographer who was on the set. And these scenes that you see where they're smashing bottles and flipping and turning, they actually did those things themselves. They were really, really astute in paying attention to it. And then there's this story you mentioned about going into a restaurant. There was one woman who came up to me and she says, "Obba, do you remember me?" This was at the premiere. She says, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "Yes, your face is very familiar." She said, 12 years ago, there was a restaurant that you used to frequent in Los Angeles, and I was a server. And I was telling you I was interested in being an actress, and you gave me some advice. Do you remember what it was? And I said, "Please remind me." And she said, "You said, pray not for what you need, because God has already given you what you need. Pray for what you want." She said, and so I began to do that. And now, guess what? I'm in this movie with you. I was like, what? Yes. And there she was, and she's brilliant and wonderful in the film. And that's the key to, I should be talking more about the movie, but I had to tell you that story because it's so fascinating how you can, touch someone's life in your walk. And that something that you say or something that you said of a word of encouragement will inspire them to go on and follow their dream. And then it come full circle. Not only is she an actress, but she said, "Obba, I get to be in a movie with you," who gave me this advice that I believe in my hard work, obviously, has brought me to this time. So yes, but all of the men and women in this movie are phenomenal. They're really, really talented people, and they came together, and there is something special in this film. So please check it out on Tubi.
Good. Check it out on Tubi. Free television's on your TV, and it's been great to have to check out Tubi for real. So you've been filming SWAT. You've been filming these movies. You have other projects that I see that are on the way. So, and you are. This is what I haven't talked about with you last time, and I got to talk about it because I'm going to go back because I got to talk about Dreamgirls, and I have to talk about Liza, and I have to talk about the other movies. But listen,
yes.
One of the first dates I took my partner on was I thought I was going to be romantic and I was going to take him horseback riding. Obba, it's scary. They are huge. What in the world? Look at, if you go on go to his Instagram page, right? Follow him at Obba Babatunde on Instagram. You are like a full-blown cowboy.
Yes.
When did this happen?
Well, that's a wonderful, wonderful journey. Not only I've been a participant in the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo for 30 years, actually participating in rodeo. I'm also a horse whisperer, which means that I teach the language of the creature because I've identified and learned so much from these creatures because they are pure spirited animals, meaning they don't have an ego, which is a great departure from the industry of entertainment. And the thing is that what that means is that you cannot bribe a horse into caring about you. And it's something that I've learned that I think I'd like to share with everybody, that you can learn about and ways of communicating with one another. And that is this. If you give, there's a difference between a prey animal and a predator animal. Okay. You can train a dog. You showed the beautiful little pup that you took to get the shots. You can train that precious little angel by going sit and then give it a treat. And now it will associate getting the treat with the activity because it's predatorial, meaning that predators, we seek out hunt or gather food, and that is the reward, eating. Well, with horses, they're prey animal. Their nature is fright and flight, different than a predator, okay? So if you go and you give a carrot to the horse or some sugar or something, and it follows you, you say, oh, it likes me. No, it doesn't attach any affinity to where the treat comes from. It likes the treat. It'll appreciate it coming from your hand, my hand, in a bucket, on the ground, wherever. The only way that you can earn, and I underscore the word earn, a horse's trust is only one way that I found: investment of time and consistency of behavior. And isn't that a wonderful thing that we could adopt? Because someone says, oh, you know what, Barbara, you're the best. And then you walk away and they go, I can't take her. She bothers me. She drives me crazy. They don't necessarily. But with investment of time and consistency of behavior, you will begin to identify who someone is. I have a lot of sayings, Robert, and one of them is that your do is not necessarily your who. And by that, I mean your do is what affects change in your life, but your who is how you affect change in someone else's life.
Ooh,
and so that idea of living your who, I always say, people say, oh, but you work all the time. I say, I'm blessed and I'm fortunate. But you know what I do? I go to every single project to give, not to get. I go to give, and you get by giving. So going back to the horse whisperer thing, for about 27 years now, I wanted to learn the language of the horse. See, when I moved out to California, I got there and I had my Tony nomination and I had all of this stuff. I had been on All My Children, and I'd go out there and I'm like, hey, I'm here. And they said, that's nice. What do you have on tape? I said, I'm sorry. I said, but I was, yeah. So I had to then start in that environment to earn my keep, show that I was worthy of being in these projects. But what I did not want to do was sit around waiting for the phone to ring. So I had always loved horses. And my father, he was a cowboy, and my mother, they went riding on the weekends when we moved into the city in Queens. And so I was around it. And I remembered the peace and the comfort that it brought me. So I started getting back into horses. And that journey led me into really identifying that, you know what, I've got a kind of a special gift at this. So I went to Pierce College and took a class in animal husbandry, so I could learn about the anatomy and the way the animal thinks. Because rather than me trying to think it needs to think the way I think, I wanted to understand the way it thought. And so that gave me some insight. And once I was able to do that, guess what? With the language, I was able to then add my gifts and talents and abilities to understanding the language of how to communicate with this magnificent creature, right? And so then that relationship developed, and it has continued. And now I've got 4 horses, and I participate in rodeo, and I train. All of my equipment is horse friendly, and it's I've even developed with friends of mine bits and saddles and things that make sure that horse is comfortable and that it's finding its way to be able to open up to me. And the beautiful thing about it is that I will never have the brawn that animal has. It will never have the brain power that I have. But look, everybody, what happens when I put that together and he or she, the creature, puts that together. Now we have what the other doesn't have, to be able to create and manifest together what we could not do alone. So it's a joy.
I love that. Well, Darius says when we went horseback riding, I almost died. And that is true, Obba. I was scared to death. But I promise you this, if I'm in Nevada or in LA, I'll go horseback riding with you. We'll go with you.
Absolutely.
Anytime. I'm going to hold you to that.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
I love that part of your story because it makes me think of the beginning of your story, because I remember your story about Sammy Davis Jr. And I know Sammy Davis Jr. was very big into the pistol. If you ever seen him on the Tonight Show with the gun work and the pistol work that he did, and this lore of cowboys and horses and all of that, which makes me think of the beginning days, which when I think of you as Sammy. And since we spoke, the Liza re-release album. This is why it's hard to interview you, because we had to do a whole Broadway hour and then we had to do a whole TV and film hour because there's too much Obba. And people like Catrice who's saying, I loved Life, which I love Life. This movie is brilliant and Obba's brilliant in the movie. Some people don't know about the Broadway days and that they know the TV and film days. And some people know you from the Dreamgirls days and maybe have enough. So there's so many different projects.
Yes. It continues to be a great journey. But yeah, so where do you want to start? If you want to talk about Sammy, we can talk about Sammy. We can talk about the early maturations of theater, how it got started. You tell me where we'd like to go.
Well, we got two questions that came in for you about theater, both about theater. So it says, Obba, you're an extraordinary artist, so incredibly talented. Is there a memorable moment you shared with Liza on and off stage that you're comfortable telling us about?
Absolutely. Great question. And I think you'll appreciate this story. And it ties into a little something that would precede this, preceding the Broadway days. The earlier, I was in a show with Eartha Kitt called Timbuktu, directed by the great Jeffrey Holder, okay? And a host of talented, amazing people, Gilbert, Price, and the list goes on. Melba Moore, we could go on forever. And so I'm in this, I was walking on stilts. Jeffrey Holder said to me, he says, baby, I have this idea of a man walking out, opening my show with 15 feet in the air on stilts. Do you think you could do that? I said, yes. I had never walked on stilts in my life. I taught myself how to walk on stilts. And that was the opening for the show. And then I did other things in the show, obviously. But there was this one number called Gesticulate. And it had the entire cast on stage. So I'm there doing my thing of what I'm doing in the part of the ensemble. The next day of this, after that performance, there was a note when I came to into work on the stage door call board, and it said, I opened it and it said, call Liza. There was a phone number. I go, I don't know what to do. Somebody must have got the message wrong. I balled it up and threw it in the trash. The next day, I come to work. There's a note, Obba, call Liza, with a phone number. So I said to the guy that mans the stage door, I said, who calling? He goes, listen, I don't know. The little guy had a cigar. He goes, listen, I don't know. I write that message is call, don't matter, don't wait. Leave me alone. So I call this number. Hello? Yes, let me talk to Liza. One moment, please. Who's calling? Obba. Female voice. Hi. I said, who is this? She said, Liza. I said, Liza who? She said, Minnelli. I go, who is playing this prank on me? I said, okay, wait a minute. It was a Sunday, right, guys? So I said, you're doing a show right now, The Act. If this is really you, I'm coming over to the theater. And leave my name at the stage door, and I'm coming back. In between our shows, I go over, and they say, Miss Minnelli, Obba's here. I'm like, this is real. I go back. She goes, hi. And the choreographer, Ron, was there. And she says, I saw you in the show yesterday. You're wonderful. I'm doing a world tour, and Raja Minami, who's in the show with me, is going to do it with me. And we're looking for one person would you mind coming and auditioning? And I said, of course, I'm happy to. It was the next day, because that was a Sunday. So Monday, I go to Minskoff Rehearsal Studios, and if there was one guy there, there had to be 150, and they were cutting them 20 at a time. Thank you, boom, thank you, boom. Got down to 4 of us, got down to 2 of us, right? And then we had to go and sing. Liza wasn't in that part. We had to go and sing now and dance with Liza for Fred Ebb and John Kander. Okay, they're in the room. Okay. For theater devotees, know who those guys are. If not, look those names up. Fred Ebb and John Kander. Okay. Oh, so in any case, I go in and we had to both audition with her. And the other dancer, he was, I think, in an effort to impress Miss Minnelli, he was showing just how fabulous he was. Me, I was marking everything she did, every turn, the angle of her body. And we started becoming one. And ultimately, then we had to sing for them. And they said, who wants to go first? I said, well, he can go first. And I walked outside and he sang. And I came back in, right? And I said, I'm going to sing If You Believe from The Wiz, right? And I started to sing. And I had all these gestures. If you believe, within your heart you know, no one can change. Fred said, stop. He said, you have a lovely voice. Put your arms behind you and don't move and sing the song. I can tell you guys, I never sung it better because, and that's a lesson for those of you who are watching who have auditions, because I wasn't distracting myself or anyone else with all the gesticulation. I was telling the story. I wanted to move, but I held it. And when I completed, Fred said, I've made my decision. And Liza said, I've made mine. But who's going to tell him in the hallway? And so then they called the gentleman in, and, you know, he wasn't too happy, I must admit. But that was the beginning of my relationship with Liza. And the thing, I just spoke to her like the early part of this week. And the thing that we still share, and the compliment she paid me, and this was this, and I'll share this with you. She said, I love Obba. She said this publicly. She says, I love Obba predominantly for 2 reasons. She said, he's the only person that I've ever met that's totally comfortable in his skin. And 2, he doesn't talk at the pool. You guys think about that for a minute. You know, and so we have been very close still to this day. You know, I love her to life. She offered me an opportunity that changed my life. I went from being a guy bumping around, trying to keep them shows coming in Broadway, to being able to travel around the world, see it in a way that I probably never could have seen it. And if I can addendamize this story with something that we were talking about life, okay? And it happened because I happened to be in the show with Liza. There was we were traveling around, and we would do 4 shows in a city, take a couple of days off, and then we would go somewhere else. It happened to be in Dallas, Texas. And I came to the theater one night, the 4th show, and there was a young girl who had been at the stage door and seen it and said, yes, but it's sold out. I jokingly said, you've been in it enough times, you could be in the show. And I went in and put my bag down for what I'll call nothing other than a random act of kindness. I went back out and I said to security, hey, she's with me, let her in. I brought her in, sat her down in a chair in the wings, way back in the wings. And I said, stay out of everybody's way, but don't get, and if somebody tells you to, just say you're a guest of Obba, but stay out of everybody's way so nobody has to ask you that. Never saw her again, okay? Fast forward, 20 years later, I'm trying to get in an audition into this movie, Life. the casting director, for whatever reason, didn't think I was right, wouldn't bring me in. I said, come on, we love Obba. Nothing in it for him. I said, it's about some black men on a work camp. Let me in the room, please. We let it go because they said no. 2 weeks after we let it go, we get a call. The agent gets a call, says, hey, Obba, they want to see you. I go in. I said, great. I go in. She's got her arms folded. She doesn't want to look at me. She goes, we're going to put you on tape. The director, he was on the phone. He says, we're going to put you on tape. Good to see you. Okay, so now I audition. Next thing, I booked the role. It's the third lead in the movie. Okay, all right. So now, my first day on set, I'm on my way to the set from my trailer, and this woman walks up to me, and she goes, hi, how do you do? My name is Tina Fortenberry. I said, oh, how do you do? She says, I met you twice in my life. She says, you did that movie Philadelphia, right? I said, yes. She says, I was a PA on that movie. I said, oh, wow. It was cold, blah, 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 blah. She said, yes, but I met you a long time ago. She says, I was a huge fan of Liza Minnelli, and you did something very nice. And I went, wait a minute. You were that little girl I put in the chair in the wings? She said, yes. And I am the associate of the unit production manager on this. And I didn't know why they didn't want to bring you in, but I saw your name on the list. And every day I would go in and say, he's good, you should bring him in. He's good, you should bring him in. She says, I think they brought you in so I wouldn't come in anymore. She said, but then Brian Grazer, he put you on tape. Brian Grazer, the head of Imagine, saw it and said, that's the guy I want. So you got it on your own merit, but I would like to think that I was able to do something nice for you as you had done for me 20 years ago. So let me tell you guys that are watching and listening, remember that anything that you do, nothing you do is wasted. Nothing that you do is wasted. It will bring and manifest. And if it's good energy, energy that's good is coming back. You throw the ball against the wall, the ball's coming back. Don't worry about when. Just know it will. Depending upon how far the wall is how long it might take for that ball to get there and how long it might take for it to get back. But it's coming back. My life, no pun intended on the movie life, is an example of that. And so I just keep on investing all the good that I can. But that's sort of the story that piggybacks on the question about Liza. And if it hadn't been for that energy that she put into me, I wasn't able to give that energy to someone else, and how it came back to me as well.
Oh, I love that so much. That's a lesson for all of us. Christine says, wow, Obba and Rob, thanks for sharing quite a sensational story. Mike, my friend Mike says he loved you in life. Mike Anderson, the greatest teacher I've ever met. Obba is wisdom at its finest. You know that's right. That's the truth. Love it. Hey, we have another question. My mother-in-law, big SWAT fan, huge SWAT fan. We're going to just go through some of the legends you've worked with, and we're going to see what it's been like and what you've taken from them. A legend, your contemporary, you're both legends, a contemporary of yours, you recently worked with her. What was it like when on SWAT you got to guest star and work with Debbie Allen as a dancer? You guys are both dancers.
Absolutely. And guess what? Debbie and I, we play husband and wife on the show. Debbie and I, in 1973 or 4, it might have been 74, we did a company of Guys and Dolls together. So we worked on stage together as well. We did Guys and Dolls with an amazing cast. I mean, Richard Roundtree played Sky Masterson. Armelia McQueen was in that production. She played the sergeant. Leslie Uggams was Sister Sarah. We had a magnificent cast. Maurice Hines was in that production and played Nathan Detroit. So, I mean, Debbie and I coming back together after all that time, and now to play husband and wife, it's been an absolute joy, unspeakable to be able to get a chance to work with her again.
I love that. She's so sweet, and she's one of the most talented people in the entire world. Speaking of greats that you've gotten to work with, and going through the list, I would be remiss before we talk about TV and film again. And here's you and Liza, by the way. And I'm so happy to see Liza on magazine covers and a documentary about her life coming out. She deserves every accolade in the entire world.
Yes, she does.
I've joked and said it's going to be May, and there's these ladies that you worked with on Broadway that blew the roof off. It is really heartening to me to see Cheryl Lee Ralph's career to see Loretta Devine's career,
Yes.
and now to see Jennifer Holliday get her due through all these years about what she has done and what you all have done with a little show called Dreamgirls. And I was going to sing, when I was going to introduce her, I was going to sing, "We are a family, like a diamond tree." But I would have done Jennifer Holliday. I would have said, "What about what I want?" That, I would have sung it so you jump right in. I was ready, Obba. Obba, you were there.
Yes.
I mean, you were there for this iconic. I mean, that's you.
That is me. That's right.
What can you say?
Well, listen, you know, the thing about what's so really special, those people that you just showed those pictures, the pictures of, what's so special about that is that Dreamgirls, before it was Dreamgirls, was a project that was it was put together in a workshop. Tom Ian, the writer, and he wrote the libretto. Tom Ian cast us. This was before Michael Bennett. Michael Bennett was the producer of the workshop. He later became the director of the Broadway musical. But Tom Ian and Henry Krieger, who did the music, we did it as a workshop. Do you know, a lot of people don't know this, the people that passed through the workshop. And by the way, Jennifer Holliday came in to the workshop. She was 19 years old. And when she sang in the first workshop, reading, holding the page and reading off the page, when she sang, "And I'm telling you, I'm not going," we were jumping up, throwing chairs, going, "My God, what is this?" That magic, the power of that voice and the commitment that she brought to that character and the innocence and genuine aspect of where she would give. And I can tell you, it was 8 times a week, and she never phoned it in, not once. 8 times a week for over 3 years, and she never phoned it in once. She gave it. When she said, "You're gonna love," when she went, it was because it was an honest gasp for life before she said "me." And Ben Harney, who played Curtis Taylor Jr., when that tinsel curtain would go down, we'd be waiting for her back behind that curtain as the girls did "Love, Love You Baby," first time performing without Effie. And we would have to sit there and hold her. And then one arm and one on the other arm and help escort her up to her dressing room because she had given every single thing she had. What a powerhouse. She never, and I know she's been on the show, you know, and I'm telling you, she was, and like Shemar and I have become sort of like, you know, in our relationship of family, she became like my little sister, and I still feel that way about her. So I'm thrilled that she's getting her due and that people identify, and they need to know that it's a very big difference, not taking anything away from anybody that's ever else has done the role. But when you originate something, when you give birth to that moment that makes theater history, that's heard around the world, you need to be recognized, appreciated, and respected for that. And I mean that. Dreamgirls is one of the things in the crowning glories of my stage career. And I've had some great things, but to be a part of one who creates theater history. It revolutionized the Broadway theater around the world because of its technology. We can't forget about those creators. It was the first time, to my understanding, that Robin Wagner, set designer, Theone Aldridge, costume designer, and Theron Munzer, our lighting designer, worked as one to bring together no set piece in terms of technology. It's commonplace now, but before Dreamgirls, no set piece had ever moved without an individual pushing it and turning it on stage. It was the beginning of all of that. Those towers, through the genius of Michael Bennett and Theone and Robin and Theron, I mean, they really showed those towers were dancing. They were creating images and shadows of light that where we could, with nothing else but just towers, we could create an environment, towers and maybe a table. You know what I mean? Look at the genius that those creators did. Look at the genius. Michael Peters and his brilliant choreography. You know, I mean, these are people that I cherish and hold dear to me. And I'm so happy, you know, for Cheryl to be able to get her star now. And I just saw Loretta, you know, and you know, we may get a chance as a project that might be coming up where we might be playing husband and wife. I told her, she said, "Oh, but they better call me. Come talk to my manager." But, you know, I'm going to tell you this. You know what a lot of people don't realize is that S.W.A.T was in one of the workshops of Dreamgirls. Of Tom Hines Project number 9. Because after the first workshop, quick update on that. Say, yes, exactly, S.W.A.T. What happened is that Jennifer left after the first workshop, and they were bringing in different artists to try to carry on with that role of Effie. Okay. Talented, wonderful women, but did not have the same essence because these characters were being built on us. Okay. But there was Jimmy got soul, Jimmy got soul, Jimmy got. Well, that came out of a situation where they had Effie's character. She went and worked for S.W.A.T as a nurse aide. And so they're looking at a magazine. I remember one of the lines in the show was, she said, "Curtis Taylor." Effie said, "Curtis Taylor." And she said, "Curtis, Tony Curtis. I love Tony Curtis." This was Estelle. She said, "Tony Curtis. Oh my God, he looks very different than I remember him." She was looking at Curtis Taylor Jr. But this is a little side anecdote. They had some wonderful people that came through over the years in building that thing. But those characters were built on us, and I'm proud of it, and everybody that's in it. You know, you know what people don't realize is that just about Dreamgirls is that the next time go back and listen to the music. The great Harold Wheeler did the orchestrations. Now people don't realize that Dreamgirls, those individuals, they're compilations of many truly living legends of that period of time of the music. Case point and example. So you talk about when you hear "Fake Your Way to the Top," ow! And they'll say, "Well, that's James Brown." Yes, that part is James Brown. But I know what's happening. That's Little Richard. Okay? When he sings, "I want you, baby, I want you," that's a tribute to Otis Redding. "Sitting on the dock of the bay." See, so go back and listen to it, and you'll hear. People mistook, and for many years they thought that it was a story about the Supremes. It's not. It's about a group that would have rivaled the Supremes, like the Ronettes, like the Marvelettes. There was a lot of ets in that period of time during that part. You know, when you talk about Little Albert and the True Tones, tribute to in sound Little Anthony and the Imperials, tribute to the Four Tops in its choreography, tribute to in its harmonies the Temptations. So you see, they're compilations of all of the periods of those times. So that's another anecdote.
Well, as Darian says, we sing this music. We sing Dreamgirls a lot in our house. We sang it down, Obba. Well, I'm going to send you a video next time. Hello to the cat, the feline friends. And Esther, Miss Lewis says you're singing to her. Yeah, she's singing it just to you, Mama Lewis. We know that that's the truth.
Yeah.
We got some comments here. My friend Pam says one of my absolute all-time favorite shows. Saw Dreamgirls 10 times. Jennifer got standing ovations every time. I'm sure she got one every night.
Every single time.
Mike says you and Jennifer are both brilliant artists and living legends. Amen to that. That's true. Mike says it's a godsend to be able to encompass the body of work that Obba's accomplished. He's an atom of the industry that has tilled the soil of talent while bringing forth the harvest of stardom. You've done it. That was Christine says Dreamgirls to this day is a favorite musical, powerful lyrics and artists singing them is such a way to feel them deeply. And I love this conversation about the Motown guests. Tita here says love this, and Joyce and Tita, hey sisters, are out here watching as well. Love this. So we talked about Dreamgirls. We talk about Liza. I never spoke to you about another. We talked about Debbie Allen and SWAT. I never talked to you about another legend that you've done a lot of movies with, who's on Broadway right now. And I'm talking about your friend, the one and the only Denzel Washington.
Yes.
How many movies have you done with Denzel Washington?
We've done 3 movies together. We did Philadelphia, we did John Q, and we did Manchurian Candidate. Yes. And I'm happy for his success and continued growth and development. You know what I mean? He's made a lot of inroads for a lot of people, and we salute you, Denzel. Keep kicking it down, my brother.
It must be something to be on set and you act and you bring your toolbox to somebody who acts like with a Denzel, with a Tom Hanks in Philadelphia. With, when you step up to the plate, have you ever worked in a situation that has been nerve-wracking or scary to you, or do you always just show up and do what you do?
It's never been frightening. It's always been an opportunity to be able to, because it's not Obba. Obba is playing the character. People used to say, how did you do 8 shows a week for 3 years on Broadway? I said, didn't you get tired? I said, when I go on stage, Obba's in the dressing room. I'm playing C.C. White. I'm living C.C. White's life. And that's his journey. And each one of the characters, you heard me say earlier, I'm only interested in playing fully realized human beings. And, you mentioned, Tom, he gave me a great opportunity and paid me a beautiful compliment. We met on Philadelphia, and then in his directorial debut, That Thing You Do, I got a call, and he said, hey, Obba, listen, man, there he is. He said, I've got a character that it reminds me of somebody in my childhood where there was a doorman at where my family and I lived. And I think and I'm quoting, I think you could bring him to life. We shook hands and I showed up on set and we went to work, and the rest is history, So I'm just thrilled and honored to continue to, meet the legends, be friends with legends, I mean, I did a movie with Michael Keaton, and I get a phone call. Multiplicity is the name of the film.
I love it so much.
I get a phone call, and it's Michael Keaton. I'm going, wait a minute, this ain't no Bat phone, but Batman is calling me. You know what I mean? And he's like, hey man, what are you doing? You want to go have a bite? So again, I come to give, and I think people identify that. You know what I mean? I respect their abilities and their talents and their gifts, but I'm not being nice to them because they're noteworthy or famous. I'm just opening myself up to give to the experience, and then when that happens, the magic. When Dennis Quaid and Kathleen Turner. We did that movie together. You know what I mean? Undercover Blues in New Orleans. There's just so many that I've had an opportunity to work with over the years. That again, it's almost like I was saying, is that about the horse not having the brain that I have, and me not having the brawn that it has, but they bring and I bring, and then together we make magic.
200 plus IMDb credits, films. I'm telling you, watch, since he's been here, I flipped the channel. Oh, the Notebook's on. There's Obba. Oh, and you just see, you will see him. Half and Half is rerunning somewhere, everywhere around the country. You'll see Obba, where he's playing Barry Gordy, or he's playing Gordon Barry on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You've been like there is you flip the channels, you'll see him. Nikki Jackson says, true A-lister, the work is amazing. Mike says, I love that thing you do. It's an underrated classic. And so does the Feline Friends. Cat Daddy say, Obba's a legend with so much range. That's what's amazing and what I love about this, and I think the takeaway while we're talking today is that you are you, if it's Tom Hanks or if it's a guy you meet at the Starbucks. And most of the time, I've heard that people want to work with people they like, who are nice and easy to work with.
Yes.
And what have you in your career? What do you contribute your success? What has been the magic formula? What is it that makes people like Tom Hanks say, "Come on down, I have a part for you"?
Well, I would like to hope that it is a regard for both the gift and the talent and the ability, and as you mentioned so beautifully, Robert, that they know that there's going to be somebody on set that they can smile and laugh and have a good time with. You know, we mentioned the last time I was on the show, and I'd love to share this if you'll allow me, about how I met Mr. D, Mr. Sammy Davis Jr. I was when I was doing the world tour with Liza, we started our first injunction of this tour. We were in Harrods and Lake Tahoe, and Liza knew I was a huge fan, and we were going to either proceed or follow one another. It's me and Mr. D, Sammy Davis Jr., follow or proceed one another around the different venues around the world. And so he came because our closing night, the next night was going to be his opening night. And she knocked on the door. She says, "Oh, but Sammy wants to say hello to you." And I said, "Oh, can he see me after I work? Can he say hello after he see me work?" And she said, "No, he's not going to stay for the show. His gums are bothering him." So I came in, and he was getting something out of the cooler. And I said, "How do you do, Mr. Davis?" And he said, he turned around and he said, "Call me Sam, man, Sam." And I said, well, Mr. D, I could never call him Sammy. I said, "Mr. D, I'm pleasured." And he says, "Listen, Liza tells me you're marvelous, and I'll see you as we're touring around, and we'll get to know one another." Well, I went on. When I came off for a costume change, Liza's dresser, Helen, said, "Liza said to tell you that Sammy stayed." So it was great. I was going to do my show anyway. After the show, I hear in the hallway, "Marvelous, hun. Where's Obba's dressing room?" "Down the hall." There's a knock on the door. I opened the door. I said, "Who is it?" "It's Sam." I opened the door, and he stood and he said, "You, my man, are a bitch on wheels. A bitch on wheels. I'm telling you." And he came in and he offered me a lot of nice compliments and praise. And I said to him, remember, we're at Lake Tahoe in Harrods. And I said to him, "Mr. D, sir, I would like to thank you for coming in through the kitchen so I could come in through the front door." Tear rolled down his face. He hugged me and he said, "Thank you for that." And I said, "I'm sure you've been told it or not." And he said, "I could never be told it enough." We became friends, fast friends on that day, and was his friend until his passing in 1990. And do you know that if he was still on the planet today, this would be his centennial? He would be 100 years old. So I salute him. He was born in 1925. And I try to keep that spirit alive because he was generous. He was generous and giving and talented beyond measure, you know. Right. So there you have it.
The impressions are killing me. First Loretta Devine, now Sammy. That's right, Mike. It's good. It does it all. That voice. You know what's funny? I was going to talk to you about voiceover work because you'll see your voice pop up on video games and cartoons, and people make a good check on a voiceover work nowadays from their house. But what I say about what's funny is growing up in New Jersey, my grandmother was a little Italian lady who loved Frank Sinatra, and she had this VHS tape of Frank Sinatra, Liza Minnelli, and Sammy Davis Jr. and it was a pay-per-view at the Fox Theater in Detroit. So when I come to Detroit for the first time and I'm performing here, and I met my fiance doing a gig here, he booked me and I stayed. I stuck around, and he said to me, where do you want to go? And I said, the Fox Theater, because as a kid, I was so obsessed with Sammy Davis Jr. as me wanting to entertain. And I read every biography and every book and every video I could find. There is no one in the world who can ever do what that man is able to do, ever.
I agree with you 100%. And he's my entertainment mentor, and that's what I tried to fashion my entertainment after. The singing, the dancing, the acting, and even the whole cowboy thing. It's really that thing. You talk about Detroit. We'd be amiss if we did not mention the Temptations film, right? And
Yes.
and so here's a funny story that you guys will probably enjoy. There are people, because they've never really got a chance to see Berry Gordy, who believe I am Berry Gordy. Because I played him in the Temptations, right? And also I played Gordy Berry on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But so it's funny, because whenever I have a chance to see Mr. Gordy, he goes, "Oh my God, it's Berry Gordy." And we have a good laugh and a big hug to one another, But I was honored that he felt that I had done him justice. And, and while we're talking about that great film, The Temptations, I got to tip my hat to each one of those actors that played those temps, and let everybody know that that was not voice looping. Those men were actually singing those parts. They really brought those characters to life. So again, got to give credit where credit is due, But yes, Mr. Gordy and I.
Well, it's funny. Catrice says that's the movie she was talking about earlier. We had Leon here, and Leon talked about being in the Temptations and playing David Ruffin. I mean, you talk about an incredible movie. And Obba, the Detroit mansion and Hitsville is right around the corner. So if you come to Detroit, I'm going to charge people money to meet Berry Gordy, and we're just going to have you right there. Meet Berry Gordy right here at the Motel Mansion. Darius says, with life experiences and many transformations in this country right now, it's a crazy world we live in. It's great to see a positive Black male that's still going strong. Keep up the great work. How important was it for you throughout your career that you're an example to so many young artists, especially young artists of color, people, African-American community artists? You worked with the Jennifers and the Melbas and the Denzels and all the people, and now they look to you as an example. So what does that mean to you when people say that you're the role model, you're the positive example they have of a career?
Well, I thank you for that question, and I'm honored, and and if I've been able to accomplish and scratch the surface of that, I've really done something very special. One of the things that I intended to do was, because I realized the power of the industry, that the images that I present, or someone that might look like me present on the large screen, the small screen, or on stage, have the ability to go around the world and suggest to someone who has never met someone that looks like me who that person might be. And so why would I do anything but go forward and represent them in a positive light? And that's what I've intended to do. That's what I'm committed myself to doing. And I will always commit myself to doing that. And it's also the aspect of one's humanity. Because before we are anything, we're born into a human existence. And so, it's very interesting just to touch on it just for a brief moment, because the question is such an important question, is that, when I have traveled and I've gone and, spent time in what is a ethnic monolithic society, meaning that if it's Japan or Africa, you don't deal with racism. You might deal with classism, but you don't deal with racism. And so we can level the playing field if we get rid of that by identifying who somebody might be or not be based simply on a hue. So that is how I've gone forward to represent myself first and foremost as a decent human being. And then you can get whether I'm, whatever the nationality is. What I've identified is this. No matter where you go, there you are.
Yes. Oh.
No matter where you go, there you are. So I do my best to never mistake my presence for the event. I go into every situation and circumstances to serve, because in one way or another, we're all in the business of servitude. So, I'll give you, I'll go back to an interesting, did I tell the story about the young lady at 12 years, the server? Did I tell that story already?
Yeah.
Because it just came back to me, because that was the circumstance. That's an example of that. Was just reminded of that. So that's how I've lived my life, and I will continue to do so. Is a person that you can say, hey, that's a great human being, and again, putting the two things, taking this power and this energy, putting them together, coming together to bring about the best in life for everyone.
Well, they say you serve greatness. You not only serve greatness, you are a fine actor, amazing actor, an amazing singer, an amazing dancer. But you as a person, the 2 hours you have spent with me last time and the hour we spend together today, here, no matter where you go, there you are. Yes, that's what we're going to take away from us this hour. You're just a great gentleman. You're a person that we all can take some lessons and love with us after this, and that's what you do. Thank you. Can I say thank you for all the hours and days that you spend on set and on stage to give us entertainment, to give us joy. You have dedicated your life to entertaining us, and that is such the greatest gift we can ever get. And that will live forever, and you will work forever, and we will be listening to that voice forever. While you're talking, all I kept thinking of is, man, if I ever needed a voiceover, I know the most beautiful speaking voice in the entire world is Obba Babatunde ever. Gorgeous.
You know what, Robert? We mentioned voiceover right before I get out of here. And that is, one of them is Lando Calrissian. And
yes,
that,
Star Wars,
of course, in the movie was Billy D. Williams. And I got to work with Mr. Williams. He played my dad in a movie called The Visit. And if you've not seen that yet, it's a great movie. It stars a host of wonderful talents. Hill Harper is in that movie. Radon Chung is in that movie. It's a wonderful movie, The Visit. And I play the brother of Hill Harper, and Billy D. Williams is our dad. And so one time I was in the studio actually doing another project, and they said, hey, Mr. Williams doesn't want to do this anymore. Can you? And I said, let me explain something to you. If I was to start talking like Billy D. Williams, you'd think he was in here right now. So, hey, let me explain something to you, man. If you want me to do Mr. Billy D. Williams, I'm going to tell you, the only thing I'm going to say is, what? You want my arm to fall off?
Well, Hill Harper also lives around the corner. So you come to Detroit, Obba, have a coffee with a horse. I'm going to face. We have some last comments. The conversation is deserving of a standing ovation. So many words of wisdom shared, inspirational, fascinating life story, a brilliant artist, superb human. One of the best. That's gold. No matter where you go, there you are, Obba, here at the Roundtable. And people saying, thank you for being here. Thank you, Obba's one of the greats, says the sister. And we want people to know, like we were talking about, we're here to let you know a special Pops episode of SWAT, May 9th on CBS at 9 o'clock. This show's going out in style. You're going to have to make sure to check it out. And I'm sure the show will run in reruns, and Obba will be getting checks in the mailbox for the end of time, which is what we want. Let's go. And also make sure that you check out the movie. The movie that we have to talk about, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, is now on Tubi. And you have another movie called Run that's coming to
yes, that will soon be in the theaters.
So we got to stay up to date. So everybody that's watching, Obba Babatunde on Instagram, you stay up to date with everything that you've got going on.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Robert, for this time. Thank you, everybody, for your comments, and continue to support Robert. This roundtable is sensational. He is sensational. He is a joy and a very, very, very wonderful human being who we all need to support what they do, because he really cares, you know, and I thank him, and I thank you all. You know, for my friends all around the world, love you guys. Mike,
Obba,
thank you, brother.
I'm gonna pencil you in from 1 year for today. You have to come back and talk about the next projects.
I look forward to it.
That's a deal. I love and appreciate you so much. You, my friend, you're a friend to us here, and my show is your show. It's always an honor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Obba Babatunde, everybody, an absolute legend. That's Emmy-winning, Tony-nominated superstar. We love and adore him so much. I love and adore you for sticking around with us today. You know, as we say at the end of every show, the best is yet. It's a good song. You ever hear Sammy sing it? I sure have. The best is yet to come. And there's more love than there is hate. There is more joy than there is sadness. And there's more good than there is bad. We just have to find that perspective and look for it. So this weekend, tell somebody you love them, send some love, spread some love, and just be love out here in this world. We need it. We need it now more than ever. I know what I'll be doing. I'm going to watch that movie on Tubi this weekend. That's what we're going to do. So I ask you to join me as well. Thank you, everybody, for being here. What do we got? We've got Here Comes the Tears. No, that's, of course I get emotional. I'm an actor too. I have all the emotions. That's where Patrice gives love. Mike says, great show. Cat Daddy say very inspired. That's all thanks to Mr. Babatunde himself. Next week, Pentatonic, Scott Hoying is here with his mom. We're going to celebrate Moms and Mother's Day. God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you again next time right here on the Roundtable. Bye, everybody.